It's another Tuesday here at the moment, and today we have the dream blunt rotation, as always. Meredith Lynch, and you know them from everywhere. I get my news from V as much as I get it from anybody else, but if you don't know, V Spehar is an award-winning digital journalist and social media personality, the creator of UnderTheDeskNews, and has built a following of over 5 million subscribers across social media. Like, V is running the internet, basically. I've seen V interview Barack Obama. I've seen V interview Vice President Harris. You've reported for the LA Times, the Washington Post, NBC News. You covered the 2024 DNC and the Paris Olympics.
Yes.
And the Paris Olympics.
Oui.
And then is about to launch a book in 2027.
Yes.
And dare I say, merch in the future? My goodness.
Yes, we have merch coming finally. Because if you're going to be a news creator, you also have to be a fashion brand. That's what I've come to learn, is that folks want the gear. So a lot of people don't know, but I made this. This is my art here. And because all interesting people were artists before, right? And so this is my art. And this
Trump has never made anything in his life.
Correct. So this will be featured in the merch because people are always asking for Lincoln. And I had done a limited edition sticker one time. So you'll be able to get your own little Lincoln soon.
That's so
V,
cool.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think about people who become artists after the most interesting point in their life? For example, one of my favorite painters, George W. Bush.
Oh, yes, the clown paintings. Well, I think we paint what we hope to reflect in the world, and perhaps former President Bush is hoping to reflect his clownery, whereas I am hoping to reflect my gayness. Because yes, Abraham Lincoln did have a lover. He did. James Speed and Abraham Lincoln just doing the most for our country.
Whenever, people, and specifically men, say to me, I don't know, can we ever have a woman president or a gay president? I'm like, oh, sweetie, we have had gay presidents.
Yes.
Just because they are not,
I'll say bisexual president, because I like the idea that Mr. Lincoln's wife, Mary of Oh Mary fame, was doing seances and all kinds of spooky girl stuff in the White House. We need to bring that back. Next president needs to be a bisexual with a spooky witchy wife.
Honestly, absolutely. Or husband, just because.
Yeah, whatever.
Just whatever, a witchy husband will take if AOC wants to run in 2028.
I'll take a polycule. I just need a bisexual president who's into spooky partners.
I support
I don't
it.
trust a witchy cisgendered man, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
Warlock.
I don't.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. They're already powerful enough.
That's
a white
true.
cisgendered man should not ever be into witchcraft because you already control everything.
Well, and I mean, we've sort of learned from the Epstein files, which I know we'll discuss, that magicians, which I would describe as typically white,
yes, that's right.
they're in there, okay? David Copperfield. Yeah, maybe you're right. We shouldn't have straight male magic people running the country.
Thank you. Maybe I'll start a foundation.
We should. No more magicians.
Let's talk about it because the Epstein Files dump came out over the weekend with 3 million pages.
I just want to go through the rundown really quick.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's all right. Quickly.
Oh my God. Somebody said
for everybody to know what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the Epstein Files. V has been in them all weekend, and so have I in my own weird way. Then we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard and a whistleblower report that is literally locked in a safe, and I'm obsessed with this. Then we're going to talk about Trump and the arts. Trump and the arts, cisgicians. That's so good. Trump is going to sue Trevor Noah, apparently, and close down the Trump Kennedy Center. And then we're going to talk to Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota about ICE on the ground in her state, and then DHS funding as the Senate negotiates that. Sorry, Meredith, you go set us up for the Epstein files.
No, there's just so much happening. I mean, the final Epstein dump has come out. It was 3 million pages, thousands of videos, lots of images released. Deputy Attorney General and Trump's former personal lawyer, Todd Blanche, says that this will be the last of the files to be released. And if you thought it was a conspiracy to say the world is run by a bunch of old, rich losers running a sex trafficking ring, well, you'd be wrong, because the files are so wild. And I want to talk about Like, first of all, Elon Musk is writing to Epstein asking if he can join his wildest parties on the island several years after Epstein had been arrested the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who had previously said he spent zero time with Epstein, in fact, did go visit Epstein in 2013. The emails go on, but the DOJ failed to redact pictures and identifying details of the Epstein victims throughout the release. And there's also a trove of uninvestigated tips reporting on all sorts of really gross allegations against Trump in relation to young girls. So I want to kick it to V first because you've really spent a lot of time in these documents. I also have as well, but I'm a little more selective. I just have a list of like 30 men I hate who I just keep searching for in there. And 2 of them are ex-boyfriends. But no, I'm just kidding. But I would love to know, like, from you, obviously you've been going through the Epstein files for a while. You know, there's been other dumps of them. We get these 3 million documents. What for you has changed in this sort of dump of files? What has been sort of the thing that you go, oh my God, I can't believe this is in here?
So I think that there's a lot of folks out there that are covering the sex crimes very well. I mean, Tara Palmieri has been on this for like a decade. Julie K. Brown, Vicky Ward, those women are doing just incredible work. They know the victims. They've developed relationships with them. They've helped them advocate and really got us to this point where now we are seeing this trove of documents and hopeful potential accountability in the future. Where I've been looking is more in the corruption and like the bigger structure that enabled this. Like, why was this happening? Who was funding this? What players were involved? And in the 27 plus hours that I've been in these documents, I've actually tried to shield myself from reading too much about the sex crimes because that is something that it shuts you down right away. And I feel like while people are running this way, trying to help this, I'm like, okay, let me run this way and see if there's something we do about the structure to expose the structure of power. And what I found was for all of the conspiracy theories all these years about Epstein being that he was part of Mossad or he was like in some Illuminati, he's very, very connected to Russia. And a lot of this comes back to Putin. And a lot of this comes back to geopolitical forces involving Saudi Arabia, with the end goal being to humiliate the West and to create a new world order. So we have the new world order after World War II, which was like the United States and the Allies would sort of run the world and the US would provide policing and security. And over the last, I would say, certainly really since like maybe the late 90s, there has been an effort for Russia to be included more authentically in who is the new world order. And I think that a lot of this we're going to see is Russian propaganda coming into Western spaces, trying to break up our relationships with allies, trying to soften Saudi Arabia's human rights violations. And they are all connected to Epstein. The compromise that Epstein used essentially to humiliate these men and keep them in his circle is one thing, but it really is just sort of gives me pause when I'm reading these emails of these fucking loser dudes who are so obsessed with each other's, like, they're such losers. They're so obsessed with each other's like approval. There's a lot of insecurity coming from world leaders and like billionaires to Epstein. And he's like sort of talking them through like, no, you're okay, dude. Like, you're going to be okay. Like it is unusual that Epstein became a figure of comfort for some of the world's most important men. And at the same time was sort of building them up into becoming, you know, either pedophiles or giving him their money to invest. Like, it's such a big, weird thing beyond the sex crimes. And that's sort of what I've been looking for now, because the only way that we stop this is with generational power shift.
Yes.
There is no one it's why you see Congressman Garcia be so unafraid and brave in the oversight committee with holding people accountable, because he's not tied to it. Anyone over 50 is probably some way connected to someone in the files, whether that's through power or money or influence or funding they got to start their campaign, to start their news group, which we will talk about some of the independent journalists out there that were funded by Epstein connected money and are now running CBS. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. I just want to throw out, like, they've done a pretty good job about disrupting the Western order. One like news item that I keep seeing, but we're not really talking about, is the UN is going to run out of money by July if the US and other countries don't pay dues. While Trump is building up his board of peace, wherein Palestinians get no say over their own sovereignty and reconstruction. And just like, it's a very successful operation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is the thought of the UN like actually being like, hey world, we are literally less than 6 months away from an actual collapse is it's crazy. It's crazy. Should we talk about Peter Attia though?
Well, I mean, here's my thought. Like, this is the thing that keeps coming up for me, because what I've been doing with the Epstein files, and I appreciate what you're doing with it, V, because I don't see a lot of other people talking about it like this. So this is like mind blowing to me. Now, I've been in so deep with my old friend Private Equity. And so there's a lot of ties between Leon Black and Jeffrey Epstein. And if you go through the files, Leon Black used to be the CEO of Apollo. He stepped down because of ties to Epstein. He can't explain why he gave millions upon millions of dollars to Jeffrey Epstein. Like they're like, why did you give all this money to him? And I have to tell you, the only thing I can come up with, and the amount of times that the two of them were meeting in person alone at his apartment, is like, and they were roommates. Like, I think that was I really think they were together. I think there was some type of sexual relationship between the two of them, which, like, I don't know if I should even say that. I could probably get sued. But that's my suspicion, is I think they had a relationship. Now, the other piece of it that I wanted to say is Steven Schwartzman is the CEO of Blackstone, which is another really large private equity firm. And he's close to Trump, but I've never found him to be close to Epstein. Now, when I go through the files, Steven Schwartzman comes up from time to time. And this comes up so much, but I want to use it with the example of Schwartzman. Schwartzman's having a party at his house for the movie The Imitation Game. It's a small cocktail party. There's a few of the actors are going to be there. It's being hosted by him, Michael Bloomberg, George Stephanopoulos, etc. And they are so eager to get Epstein to attend. And what I don't understand, and I know this is a long way of saying this, but I'm just like, if I had a friend who was convicted of sex crimes of a child, I would never want to see them again. And so I just don't understand. And then I'm like, all right, is it just because they were like, maybe he'll finance this next thing? Maybe he'll do this. And that's what I find so mind-blowing. To me, the cutoff is like 2007. If you were with Epstein after 2007, I think it's completely unforgivable. If you were around him before that, I'm not saying it was okay, but I'm just saying maybe you didn't know. But then once you had that concrete proof, what do you guys think of that? Am I crazy to like have this cutoff?
I think you should I think you're wise to bring up these social parties that they were doing. And the thing that I want to impart here is the idea of nostalgia and the fact that a lot of these men saw their friend get in trouble. Well, he did his time. I never had a hard time with him. You got to remember this. Epstein like trauma bonded himself to these men. He was their like confidant. He made them feel good about themselves. He did help them get connected and be successful. And I think the nostalgia for Epstein outside of the crimes, they were willing to put that aside because they missed their friend. There are lots of people who are horrible people who are good friends. Pick you up from the airport. They're a nice person to talk to. They make you feel good about whatever, but they're doing horrible, horrible things, right? So I think that that's part of it. But the social events is where Epstein really shined. And the one thing that in the sort of like, how are they destroying the New World Order? How are they destroying the West? Was by capturing news and entertainment. And this is something that Epstein was involved in. There is an event that was held in Jared Kushner's honor that was in like 2013, so well after the fact. And it was when Jared Kushner bought the New York Observer, made it the Observer. This is the first time they're starting to fund. And this is where you start to see the narrative on the right of the mainstream media can't be trusted. Only trust independent voices, the Daily Wire, the Free Press, the New York Observer, these independent things. This is all connected. And who's on this planning committee to honor Jared Kushner, but like Cory Booker, Mariska Hargitay, like, but then also Harvey Weinstein, also like all these people. And the fact is, this was the plan. It is to put a bunch of normie people with high trust in a space with a bunch of very nefarious evil people to try and soften the evil people. Matt Lauer is involved here. Katie Couric is involved here. Now, it was years before Matt Lauer and Harvey Weinstein would be held to account. But the fact is, when you look at that snapshot of 2013, Jeffrey Epstein getting back in good graces, getting invited to social events, who's on this planning committee to honor Jared Kushner? Jared and Ivanka were Democrats at that time. Ivanka had a shoe line and a fashion business. Like, we have to place ourselves in the fact that this was not obvious to people, but it was obvious to Epstein. He knew what he was doing by putting these certain people together. And they're, again, begging him to come to their party.
Can I say, I just want to say two things before we move on to Tulsi. But okay, one, even in 2026, when this is so obvious, it is still so hard for people to say that these were little girls. right? Like it's
Yep.
still so hard. And so I think part of that cutoff is like the amount of men who are willing to be like, she was 15 and she had boobs and she was hot. I think like
No.
that's part of it is like how many, like not to, how many men are willing to womanize children and like
Yep.
not put this in their mind as pedophilia, which is what it is. And then the other thing I want to say, just really quick, because this has been my special interest with the Epstein files, is I keep seeing this Tiffany Doe affidavit circulating around the internet. And it's actually from a case in 2016 where a Katie Doe came forward and like put forth more than one case saying what we now know to be a very classic Epstein move, that when she was 13, she wanted to be a model. She met Ghislaine Maxwell. She was invited to parties. And at one of those parties, trigger warning, Donald Trump brutally raped her. And Tiffany Doe was her friend who corroborated that in a sworn affidavit. And this has been on the internet since 2016. We did not need the Epstein Transparency Act to know that there are very credible, these are not tips. These are not, and by the way, Tara Palmieri, who we've talked about, brilliant journalist, in 2025 got in touch with the lawyer, one of the lawyers who represented Katie Doe at the time. And he said to Tara, I don't even know if she's still alive. Nobody has been able to be in touch with this Katie Doe since she dropped out of the public world in 2016. And so just like, this has always been in front of us. We just are, it's just so big and so grotesque and such a mirror to all of our lives that I think we're sort of incapable of really like actually taking it in.
The last thing I would just want to say about the Epstein thing is the capture of our entertainment and news to like put it, because it's happening even to today. Yes, this man's been dead since 2019. It doesn't matter. There are emails where Epstein is asking Bill Gates' former chief of technology about Larry Ellison, and is beginning this like inquest into, do you know Larry Ellison? Would you introduce me to Larry Ellison? Larry Ellison. And then later meets Nellie Bowles, who was a reporter at the New York Times. And I was like, well, maybe he met Nellie because she was trying to do a story on him. No. Nellie was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein through Russia's favorite teenage propagandist, this woman whose name is Masha Drakova, who actually had a movie made about her life called Putin's Kiss, because when she was a child, she was so pro-Russia. She got to meet Putin, and she was so overcome with love for him that as a child, she kissed him, and they made a whole movie about it. Anyway, so Nellie, I don't know, she's listed as friend of Masha when she gets introduced to Epstein. Shortly after that, he has an email to her where he says, is being with your new babe, which is Barry Weiss, such as good a decision as the career change we talked about was. And that career change is her going from New York Times to starting the Free Press with Barry Weiss.
Really?
So where did you get the money for the Free Press? I mean, somewhere. It's not like Nellie came from money or anything. And that's in there.
She's cousins with Tucker Carlson.
True. So there's something there, but I'm very interested in the initial funding for the Free Press now. And Epstein sending Nellie Bowles emails afterwards where they are talking about how to go with Barry meeting your mom. And she's like, hope to see you when I'm back in New York. And then he says to her, there's a girl that he's sending to Nellie Bowles. And he says, don't touch her. You're going to like her, but don't touch her. She'll be at the summit. The summit is Dialogue, which is the pro-natalist super deep secret billionaire event that happens annually at an offsite in the middle of Colorado. And then, so moving on, because this is like, I don't know, this is going to be a 75-page Substack sometime. The Free Press is then acquired by Paramount for $150 million, not but 4 years later, which is Larry Ellison's son. So I'm just sort of very interested in the funding umbrella and the sort of coincidence of like him asking about Larry Ellison, somehow the Free Press getting funded, Free Press getting bought by David Ellison. Now she runs CBS. CBS is loaded with people who are in the Epstein files and connected to Trump and whatnot. And it's just a very weird thing.
We could do this for literally forever.
But that's where I am these days. You know?
We should have just said we were talking about Epstein at the top because, in fact, we now have our guest in-house. We've been really excited to have this guest. This is Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota. She is a progressive Democrat representing the great state of Minnesota. She's the only U.S. senator to have worked for Planned Parenthood and was formerly the lieutenant governor of Minnesota. And we're so excited to have her on today to talk about ICE in her state and DHS funding. Hi, Senator.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be with you. Nice to see you again. Hi, V. Hi, everyone. Hi,
Hey.
Meredith.
Hi, thank you so much for being here with us. I do need to know, that looks like a really cool painting behind you. We do need to discuss this. What's going
Yes.
on, right? That big
I know.
painting?
Okay, here. All right. Whoop. There you go. That painting is from the Wiseman Art Museum in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's the University Art Museum. It was painted by an artist named Cameron Booth. And isn't it so cool? It's very sort of like Midwestern forest barn, but it's just also this kind of expressionist colors. I'm so glad you like it. It looks like it goes with the painting of Lincoln behind
Right.
the. You know, I like really respond to color, and that's what my office is about. I'm not like the typical politician. I don't have a lot of pictures of me shaking hands with other more famous people than me.
Honestly,
We'll send you a
right now,
print.
that's
We're doing
probably
prints.
I know.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, at this moment, probably for the best. I think there's a lot of people with
that's right.
hands shaking that they're like, let's take that picture down.
Yes, exactly.
So on a more serious note, your state has been going through it. I don't know how else to put it. You've had citizens literally shot in the street. You've had children pulled off the street. First of all, how are you doing and how are the constituents of your state doing? Let's just start there.
I was just, of course, I was home this weekend, and I was just on a Zoom call with a group of folks that are doing crime victim services. So folks that are, victims of domestic violence, abuse, and it just drove home to me again how the ripple effect of what the federal government, ICE, is doing in Minnesota is affecting just everybody. And, I mean, I'm exhausted, but like, what about the people that have been out on the ground in Minnesota for the last many, many weeks? They have just been, tracking where ICE is going, blowing whistles, making sure that people are on alert. But then they're also, you've heard the stories. They're like organizing mutual aid to get people food who are afraid to leave their apartment. They're helping daycare teachers, driving them back and forth to their jobs because they're afraid to drive by themselves. They are trying to figure out how to get their mom medicine because their mom has been detained. And if she doesn't get her heart medication, she could die. I mean, this literally happened just in the last couple of, just recently. Somebody was detained by ICE. She didn't have her heart medication. We couldn't figure out how to get ICE to allow her medication in to the building, and she ended up in the emergency room. So it's just like it's like being in a war, like being in an extended conflict, except it's the federal government that is doing this. It is it's been incredible. Now I just want to say, just put it out there. I mean, how about these Minnesotans?
I know.
Right.
Blueprint, truly. That's how I felt watching this.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, everybody take notice of what's happening here and dig deep like you're from Minnesota, because
we're like you're going to come into our state in the dead of winter and you're going to think that you can intimidate us, and you can't even walk on the ice.
The descendants of Vikings fighting back.
Right. Like we live here because we don't give a shit about how cold it is. We just keep on fighting. And so I think that I'm joking about it, but I'm actually so serious about it because I think that my Minnesota has been showing America how you stand up to this brutality, how you stand up to bullies.
And
that becomes a source of inspiration for everybody.
it genuinely has been.
Yeah. I think one of the things that has been, we really saw Minnesota stand up and push back was I call it the kidnapping of Liam Ramos Conjeo. And we know he's recently gone back to Minnesota. So I'm just wondering, have you spoken with him and his family? And also, I guess one of the things I'm wondering is what comes next for Liam and his father, Adrian? Because, obviously they were released, but are they going to take this? I know he's here on asylum. He is here legally. What is the next step here?
Yeah. So, oh, it's such a good question. And I mean, there's so many layers to it. So, I have not spoken to them, but I have spoken to their lawyer. And
Mhm.
I know that, there was so much work that was put into getting them out. So, the first thing I want to say is that God bless this little boy. I was just I'm originally from New Mexico. And so I know a little bit of Spanish, very little bit of Spanish. And conejo means rabbit in
Oh,
Spanish. And so he wears his rabbit ears because that's his
aw.
name. His name is Liam Conejo Ramos. They're home now, but they don't know how long they're going to be home, because what happens with this Justice Department is they realize that there are these individuals that achieve sort of superstardom in their oppression, and then they go after them over and over and over again. So they're like, oh, we're trying to figure out if we can detain them again. So I don't think that they feel like they are out of the woods, that they are that they're safe.
Right.
But then the other layer of this is that because his picture was so anguished, and because everybody could relate to this little guy with a Spider-Man backpack, he captured the attention. But people should know there are like hundreds of Liams.
I
Yeah.
know.
I mean, just this one school has had multiple kids detained with their families. I was talking to the governor yesterday, and he said that they have evidence that ICE is like targeting schools, because they know, okay, that's where the parent is going to be. They're going to have to go to pick up their kid.
Mm.
And it's a way for us, in this dragnet strategy they have of rounding people up. So, th- you know, we have to really be strong, because Liam is home for now, but there are so many kids that are still in Texas that have not been returned to their families, not been returned to their schools. And it's not just Minneapolis, it's
Mm.
schools all over the state of Minnesota, little towns.
Mm.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I mean, there's apparently there's now a measles outbreak happening
Mhm.
in the Dilley detention center. I just
Yes,
want
that's
so
right.
your colleague, Representative Kelly Morrison of Minnesota, visited the Whipple Detention Center, and I wanted to know: have you visited the
Yeah.
Whipple? Like, can you talk about that a little bit
Yep.
about the
Yep.
detention centers?
Absolutely. I actually went to Whipple, and Senator Klobuchar and I went to Whipple just a few hours before Kelly did, and had a chance to look around and see what was going on there. We had to give them 7 days notice. So let's be honest, they had things. I think they knew that we were going to be there. Let's just say
Mhm.
that.
Mm.
What I came away with a couple of like strong feelings. The first is, this place was never meant to be a detention center. It is a processing place where they have cement rooms with cement beds, or
Mm.
cement benches. There are, you go into these, and there's like glass on one wall of each room. So there is zero privacy. If you want to use the bathroom, you have to basically walk behind a waist-high barrier, but it's completely open to the world.
Mm.
If you've been there for a while and you need a shower, you'd have to walk down the hallway to these showers in a completely separate, in a like, just like exposed, like
Mm.
in an open hallway. It is completely inhumane, and the folks in there are like so scared, so confused. When we went in, they said, "Oh, ma'am, you're not allowed to talk to anybody." And I'm like, I'm a United States Senator. I can
Yeah.
talk to whoever I want to.
Right.
And my Spanish is not great, but we had people who were able to speak Spanish who were on our team. And we spoke to this one woman who had been in detention for 6 days. And she'd been sort of bounced around from place to place. She was picked up in a little town, and then moved to another little town, and then finally moved to this building, which is this giant federal building right next to the airport. But here's what's really incredible and so wrong about what they're doing. So they bring people into Whipple, they process them, they take away all of their worldly goods, they take away their phones, they take away their identification and their papers, and then their goal is to, as quickly as possible, put them on a plane and fly them to Texas.
Mm.
No, they have no goal of ascertaining whether they're being detained
Right.
for any legal reason. They're flown to Texas, and then they're in detention, and then a lot of them, they're ending up having to fly back,
Mm.
because they actually, the judges say, no, you can't detain this person. So it's just such an incredible trauma, and also such a colossal waste
Yeah.
of time and money.
Yes.
Yeah, how much waste, fraud, and abuse is happening there? It seems
No
like
kidding, V.
exclusively.
I know,
Yeah.
no kidding, V. I mean, there's been an outside estimate that this effort is costing the taxpayers of the United States of America. I mean, this is the least of our, I mean, there's so many problems here. This is the financial problem, $18 million a week.
And who's benefiting from that, though? Because it's not like $18 million is going towards caring for
No,
these people.
that's
It's to
right.
private chartered flights. It's to
Yep.
privately owned detention centers. It's like there's somebody who is
Yep.
looting the American taxpayer
That's exactly
to do
right.
these atrocities.
Yep.
Yeah.
This feels like a little taxation without representation.
A little bit. A little bit.
It is. But you know what happened is when the Republicans passed this big, beautiful bill, they sent $75 billion to ICE. Now, I have been told that that is more money than the Marine Corps has.
Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yes.
And the Marines don't have enough uniforms right now. This has been an issue
Yeah.
for 5 years. We can't even get the cloth to cut the uniforms that we require, but we've got 18 million to just fly people around and harass them.
The only military bigger than ICE or DHS is China and the United States
Yeah.
military.
Yeah.
Like that's such an
Yeah.
unfathomable. Sorry,
And-
go ahead. I just
No, and this is a federal police force there to basically police Americans.
Mhm.
And this is so interesting, right? Because like, you know, I know I have a lot of colleagues in the United States Senate that are way, way, way more conservative than I am, but fundamentally they are civil libertarians.
Right.
They're like,
Mhm.
do not tread on me. Do not try to tell me what to do. And
what happened?
yeah, that's what's going on. And they're pissed about this. They're like, this can't be right. This cannot be right. Now, are they going to do anything about it? Is of course, question. But
Right.
That's a really good set. Yeah, go ahead, Meredith. You're
Well,
thinking.
yeah, no, I'm just thinking we know the Senate has this 2-week stopgap to fund DHS as Democrats negotiate with Republicans on reforms to DHS operations, ICE and CPB. So what are Democrats actually hoping to get out of these negotiations?
yeah. So this is how I see it.
Yeah.
I kind of like, well, first of all, like I'm from Minnesota. I want ICE out of Minnesota.
Yeah.
They need to leave. I can't vote for one more penny for ICE, given what has happened in my state. So I just have to put that out there. But
Are you
here's the
saying
thing.
abolish ICE?
I feel
yeah.
like I'm hearing
What I am saying, and this is actually really important because I think this is a bit of a thing. You know, I think like we need to rip ICE down to the studs. We need
Yeah.
to start over with
Yes.
ICE. ICE
Yeah.
has been this is a federal agency for 22 years.
not even that long.
It is fundamentally corrupted and we need to start over. I am not saying that we need to not have immigration enforcement. And I
Sure.
think that's why I'm avoiding the language because I think that when, it becomes a way for people who
Yeah.
don't like
Yeah.
us to try to go after us by saying that we want open borders.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm tired of that fight. That's
Sure.
ridiculous, but I'm glad that's what I'm saying. But that's not really on the table right now. We don't have the votes for that.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's how I would just say it. First, like these federal agents should be required to abide by the basic best practices and standards that every single police department in the whole country abides by.
Mhm.
Police departments can't just like pull people out of their cars and arrest them and detain them for no reason. They can't put masks over their faces. They have to identify themselves. They can't storm into somebody's house and steal them unless they have a warrant. It's like the kind of basic standards. Okay, that's good, but like who trusts these guys right now?
No.
We could pass a law and are they going to do it? Of course not. So we need to have accountability. We need to have a way of having there be consequences if they don't follow the law, because honestly, a lot of this stuff is already the law. They're
Right.
just not
Okay.
following it.
Thank you. Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Sorry.
So it's not like we're plowing new ground here in terms of what the law is. And so what kind of accountability might that look like? I mean, like when you have a police department that goes off the rails, when there are serious problems, we have basically, outside folks that come in and monitor them. They ensure that they are following the law. We can't rely on Pam Bondi's Justice Department to do that. We need we need real accountability. And so
Mhm.
my goal is to make sure that we are tough negotiators and that we don't do something that just provides some window dressing for all of my Republican colleagues who feel nervous about this, but nothing really changes in Minnesota or other places around the country. I can't abide that.
Can't we get rid of stuff like the bonuses, which are kind of bogus and are I think if you disincentivized what
Yeah.
they've been selling
Right.
ICE agent as,
Mhm.
like you
Yeah.
probably would have less of an issue with it if we can't
It's
fully
so
abolish it. But
incredible.
it's like the bonuses, the propaganda that they post, the way that they say join ICE, be an American hero, the way that they're allowed to carry live rounds after only 47 days of training, the masking, like there's just so much that if we take CPB, right, border control, and we take local police officers and we say, okay, CPB deals with the border and the police deal with the crime, what is ICE really left to do other than be this goon squad and private police for the president?
Yeah, I mean, well, and there, remember that when ICE was, originally envisioned, it was supposed to be, um, you know, enforcement like at the border. Like, so you have
Right.
people who
Sure.
come in, let's say you have crossed the border and they're dangerous. They're, they're axe murderer. You want to detain them. You want to make
Yeah.
sure that they're not, but of course that's not what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And what is, I think, so important for people to understand is that every day that ICE is in Minnesota, Minnesotans are less safe.
Right.
They are not arresting the worst of the worst. They are detaining Liam.
Yeah, they're going
They are-
door to door
Yeah.
in neighborhoods. I mean, when you look in the background, it's very easy to feel like it's my neighborhood in Rochester. It's
Yeah.
this is like, a Main
Anytown,
Street America.
USA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a crazy idea. What if we just taxed billionaires, paid people a living wage, and made it a lot less expensive to go to college? Because
There you go.
here's what I
Ooh,
think. I think
clever.
if there was a little more to go around, people would not be victimized, like would not be making these immigrants out to be these criminals, which like 99% of them are not.
Mhm.
And
Right.
then the other piece of it would be like, I think like I am not defending these ICE agents, but I think a lot of them are desperate. I think they need money. I think they probably don't have good health insurance. I think like they probably didn't wake up one day and said, I want to terrorize immigrant communities, but they've bought into the lie that the immigrants are taking things from them. And so I'm just like, why don't we just tax the billionaires, make it a little bit better for the rest of us? And that could maybe make this some of it go away.
Yeah.
I just
Could be.
love what you're saying because this attack on immigrants, on people that are seen as like the other, is all part of a big strategy.
Yeah.
To distract us from the reality that this economy is completely rigged. There's plenty of money in this economy. The problem is that it's all just going to a few people.
Right.
And that's not an accident. That's happening by design. It's rigged that way. And the Trump administration has rigged it even further, certainly to enrich themselves, but also the, wealthy, crypto billionaires and the tech billionaires that are benefiting so greatly. And then everybody else is under stress. Nobody else can afford their lives. You can't afford a place to live or your childcare. And it causes this division and tension. And it doesn't, these are choices that we make. We need to make completely different choices about how how we go after this concentrated power so that people actually have a chance to live their best lives in this country and not just sort of under the thumb of this economy that is basically designed to help the rich get richer.
Can you remind the Senate today when you're in there real quick that we really do want to see accountability before reconciliation too? Like there has to be accountability before reconciliation. Trying to find the centrist middle situation is just not going to fly with the public right now. And I don't think it's like where we're at yet. But if you could just throw out accountability before reconciliation.
And dare I say, I remember my senior year, I started getting a little wild at Arlington Catholic High School. Okay, throwing a few things out there, switching some things up for the night.
Yeah,
And I know this is, sadly for the people of Minnesota, this is your last term. So, I mean, what do you think? First of all, God, how normal are you that you are?
He's retiring. I know.
Everybody else, like they're like, I'm going
God.
out with the
But you were one of the good ones. Couldn't we have gotten somebody else?
Woman, though, too.
We'll make
Trust
sure we have
a
another
woman
good
to
one.
be
I've
like,
got
"You
ideas
know
about
what?
that.
Enough. Thank you.
what do you, where do you sort of see yourself a year from now? Do you have a sense?
Well, I mean, it's people ask me this, and I don't. It's a kind of a hard question to answer because I'm like actually so, like deep in the what is happening right
day-to-day.
now, and I
Yeah.
really want to stay there
Yeah.
and do everything that I can, and then like if I fantasize about that, I'm like, I hope that I am someplace warm, and I hope my phone is turned off.
Yeah.
But I only want that to be like that for a bit, right? Because
Yeah.
I am an organizer at heart. I've been an organizer my whole life, and I'm not going to stop doing that work. I'm just going to do it in a different way. And I don't know what that's going to look like exactly. But
Captain Tina Smith dolphin tours off the coast of St. Petersburg just for a couple weeks, you know?
Yes,
That's what I told
yes.
John
I'm
Kirby
gonna
to do. I feel like it was a good advice.
That's right. Everybody needs to know that in this world, you do need to give yourself some grace to rest,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
Yes.
then back to do to do the work that you're best that you can do, and that's how I see it. So I don't know. Stay tuned. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Well, we hope you go out in a blaze, like,
Yeah.
you
Give them hell.
give them hell,
will.
Senator
I'm going
Smith.
to keep on, as I said, I am so ready to keep on making good trouble over the next 11 months and beyond.
Well, we value that here at the moment. So thank you so, so much for coming and joining us and representing the people of Minnesota.
Thank you all. It's great to be with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Bye.
Senator Smith. Bye. Wow. I think
So
fourth
cool.
co-host.
I know. She's a good one.
She's a good one. You know what I keep finding on this show is when we speak to lawmakers as individuals, I'm like, yeah, these are like-minded people who care, like we haven't had Chuck Schumer on the show. So like there's a couple of people that I'm like, who knows exactly what's going on there. But it does give me like, we want the same things. So like, how are we not going in the same direction so hard right now?
I know. I have had Chuck Schumer on my show before. If he comes on the show, he'll drop the F word a couple times. It's very much like Midnight at the Oasis for him, or like variety show hour or something. I don't know if he treats it like as serious as like an MSNBC interview. It can be fun, but I think that's a step too far at this point. I mean, I think folks are really calling for new leadership, and like we said at the beginning of the top of the game, with it's going to take generational leadership change for us to get ourselves to a new position.
I find this on the internet a lot, where sometimes I'm like, the Democrats have missed the message where it's like, they were like, oh, we're too canned, so now we're your friends. And
no, we're super loose.
And it's like, we don't want you to be our buds. We want you to be real and go.
We want you to abolish ICE.
I'm going to go say, like, we want DHS to be defunded and started over from the beginning. Yeah. Like, that's my opinion. But
basics.
Yeah.
What's having a moment, ladies and they
and ladies.
Yeah, the ladies. I like that. Ladies.
V, kick us off. What's having a moment for you?
The internet, the women of the internet are having a moment. Like all the true crime girlies, they are fully exposing the Epstein files, but they are also like really exposing DHS and ICE issues too. I'm very excited for women on the internet right now, reclaiming their power, starting group chats, getting out there, playing mahjong together, and like getting IRL and like really reconnecting. There's such like negativity that's been put on women in rooms having conversations as gossip or not going anywhere. And in fact, gossip is wildly powerful and very healing. Start a group chat, get your mahjong on, talk shit on the internet. That's what's having a moment.
Amen.
I love that. I also think gossiping like is inherently the term, even though I use it and I am
a
no
gossip.
Stranger to it.
Oh yeah, I'm a shit talker.
But I was talking about this last night. I did once get in trouble at school because I was talking about my second grade teacher's divorce so much.
We would have been friends though. This is the kind of stuff I was interested in.
Hilarious. Yeah. That is your precursor to the internet. It's like there was no internet. So you were like, well, I'm going
to host this symposium on the playground. Listen, guys, she's going through it. I feel like V though, I feel like you're like me. Like I was like, well, am I talking about it, or is it because she's talking to me about it so much? Like, were you one of those kids that like adults would tell things to and you're like,
Yes.
I don't think I should know that?
One, yes. And also my mom had a police scanner because my dad was a volunteer firefighter. So we used to just sit around and listen to the scanner and be in everybody's damn business. And if the scanner got hot enough, my mom would put us in the car and like drive us by to see if like Cindy really did throw Bill's clothes out on the lawn and if the police really did show up. True story. Love it. Shout out to Maureen for being the best.
The
OG
reporter.
Yeah, some people have like cookie moms or like comfort you moms. No, I had like true crime girly police scanner mom.
My parents had a police scanner too, and their favorite thing was like cracking a couple Heinekens and just turning that bad boy up.
We got to get back to police scanners. This is local community defense and involvement.
Well, I love that. I think like people don't realize that like gossiping is often information sharing and really powerful things can happen. It's because women for so long were not in these rooms. So we had to find a way to information share, whether that's at the market during the bubonic plague or whatever. So
they made it this like diminutive word for when, like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, it's not just like, you know, men chatting at the golf course. Like for us, it's gossip.
I hide behind it. I'm like, oh, it's just gossip. You wouldn't want to be there. We're just baking cookies for our husbands. We don't care. Like, you don't want to come. This is just girly stuff. Yeah, it's girls' day.
Gossip.
Yeah.
Rebecca, what's having a moment for you?
Okay. I'm gonna give her Dame Catherine O'Hara. You know, I really. Friday was a bad day for a lot of reasons. And then I turned on my phone, you know, and like, it was like TMZ, Catherine O'Hara has passed away. And there was a Schitt's Creek episode where it was a fake story that Moira Rose, her character, had passed away. And so there was a moment where I was like, what if this is a Moira Rose? What if she didn't actually pass away? Like this feels, it's like, it was like Diane Keaton where you're like, this feels impossible. This person is like such a forever person. How is it possible? And so I've been rewatching Schitt's Creek in the background of my life for the past like 72 hours. And like, what a talented, hilarious, special, delightful woman. And I wish her family the best. And Moira Rose, Catherine O'Hara having a moment for me.
Yeah, very much. That's a good one.
Rest in power.
I know. I remember her from like the Waiting for Guffman days, though, because like the theater kid, you know, and A Mighty Wind and Best in Show and all that.
She's just so uniquely funny. Like there's nobody else quite like her humor. Like I wouldn't even, you know, like you can like imitate her, but it's like it came from such like a deep down her bizarro place.
She's Canadian. They're just the best of us.
I know. I saw a lot of Canadians being like, hey, Americans, you need to shut up for the weekend because we are mourning over here. And I was like, oh, we take all your good stuff and give you all our bad stuff.
Fact.
I feel like Best in Show is a little bit of a litmus test for me in friendships because if I bring up Best in Show to somebody and they're like, oh, that wasn't funny at all. I'm like, oh, this is not.
You're not on my level.
You're not
on my level.
It's just not going to work.
Teachers never told you about their divorce. You're not on my level. You don't get adult humor, deep humor.
Deep humor. Meredith, what's having a moment for you?
I have a new TV show and it's called Ponies.
Oh, is it good? I've seen it. I haven't checked it out yet.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. So Ponies. It is about, and I feel like V, this is very much up your alley right now. It's about these two women who are the wives of foreign officers and they're in Russia, and I'm not giving anything away. Calm down. First 10 minutes. Both of their husbands, they're both kind of like yin and yang. You know, they're both very different. One's like, you know, more serious. The other one's kind of wild. And both of their husbands die in a plane crash in Russia. And they start to figure out that their husbands were spies. And so from there, they now start working for the US government as spies in Russia in the 1970s, you know, like infiltrating the KGB.
And it sounds like Gracie and Frankie meets Russian spies.
And like I forgot how much I love spy culture.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's really bad. Like people end up but this is kind of like how would I have been in the IRA? Maybe.
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
say.
But anyway, I really like it. I think it's a really fun show. And Rebecca, it
What's
reminds me of
on?
you and
I would
me.
love
It's on Peacock. One of them is like a little more of serious. She's Jewish. She has dark hair, and the other one is blonde and like a
Wait, it's
fucking
us?
live wire.
It's you
And
guys.
It's
us.
us.
I can't wait for my lesbian character to show up in like episode 7.
Oh, don't worry.
Absolutely.
That's
It'll
the
happen.
actual
She's
dream.
already there.
Oh, I was
She's
going to say, there has
She
to
works
be.
at the Russian market.
Of course. Of course.
You
There's
think that we're a
always.
trope, that we're a
Yeah.
boring trope that people repeat in entertainment over and over and over again,
Yes.
but it works.
It's us.
so why not?
You know what? It works.
It works.
Highly recommend it.
Comforting.
Wow,
So we'll
I'm
be
so excited
back
to watch this.
on Friday. We want to remind everyone to subscribe to us on YouTube. Remind our friends. V, can you remind everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, at Under the Desk News everywhere. Substack is probably the hottest place if you want the hot takes, but Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff.
Awesome.
V is the
And-
best. She's like, they're like one of the best follows I have.
Threads,
you know?
if you
like,
really want just like what I would write in a live diary, you can go to Threads for my Under the Desk, like completely off-brand, very unfinished thoughts.
ooh, that's like the new
Yep.
hot.
Yep.
That's your live journal.
It is my live journal. And my management team has asked me many times to remember that it is in fact not. It is. I don't care. Threads is for me.
Honestly,
Yes, some
here's
things
the
need to
thing
be for
though,
you.
Lee, is
Yeah.
like, you know, Elon Musk wasn't worried about what he was writing
No.
to
On X?
Epstein. You know, like
It's
these dudes aren't worried. And I'm sure whatever you're saying on Threads, knowing you is probably not anywhere near what lots of men are getting away with.
It's at least
Well, you
true.
know-
It's mean. Sometimes like I have like a little Suzanne Lambert in me when it comes to Threads or something. Like I could be a little mean but true over there.
Wait,
Yeah.
you guys, I did something really mean yesterday on social media. Can I tell you really quick?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So I saw this Instagram reel of this woman who was like making her bed, and like then it had the text overlay, and she's like, the thing is, you don't need to know my political opinions, and you never will, because like social media shouldn't be about politics. And even if you
Okay,
guess,
jelly roll.
I won't tell you. Right. So I just like, I will say this, and I think like maybe V and Rebecca, you can relate to this. When you have like a little social media clout, like you kind of act like the cool kid in middle school. So I just commented, okay, Rumpelstiltskin. And then this bitch comes back at me and she writes back, I think if you were prettier, you wouldn't have left that comment. I was like, okay, she's probably not wrong. So
Okay.
then I went on her page, and any single picture that had her husband in it, I just wrote bah ha 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 ha. And I don't even know why. Like I just couldn't stop myself.
You know
I
what?
was
You
like,
have to, once you're going, it's like roller skating downhill. You got to keep going. My favorite comeback is, when's the last time you walked in a room and somebody smiled? That's my as mean as I get, but that's right up with there with, if you were prettier, I don't think you would have made that comment.
Can I also just throw out there that everything about that interaction tells me exactly what I need to know about her
Right.
politics? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
think you
love
know
it.
what your politics are.
Like, I don't talk about politics when all this is going on. And when somebody makes a joke, you come back and say, well, you're ugly. I'm going to go ahead and guess that I know
your fucking politics.
exactly where your politics are.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love.
Well,
Bless
y'all
her
come
heart.
back on Friday. I'll be joined by Rumpelstiltskin. I was just excited to get a Rumpelstiltskin joke in. No, we
Yeah,
have we'll be telling you about our guests, but we also have friend of the show, friend in real life, Carolina Montesquieu is going to come by. We know you all love Carolina, and she'll be great. She was recently on Subway Takes, so we can ask her about that. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you to V. We couldn't do it without them, and we'll be back soon.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.